Hello and welcome to From Impossible to Inevitable. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. This is 126. I am so excited for this episode. It's one that has kind of been on my heart for a little while, and I really haven't quite been sure how to share it. And so I hope that things come out succinctly and clearly today, and that you get my message of absolute encouragement. For today's episode, I would love for you to start by thinking of something that you are striving for, a goal that you're working on, a project that you want to create, whatever it is, something that you're striving for. It could be even personally too, a way of being, a way of life, the person you want to be, whatever it is. Think about this thing that you are striving for. And is it scary? Is it hard? Are you a little bit worried that you won't have the consistency necessary to get there, to sustain it, to reach whatever it is you're reaching for? These are kind of the containers that I have decided to set up for this episode. Things that are scary and things that are hard and things that require consistency, when consistency can really be, all three of these things can be huge obstacles, right? They can just stop you in your tracks. And especially, I feel like consistency is a little bit different in that it requires more, right? It requires you to sustain it. It's not just like well, that was scary, but I did it. I got through it. It's done. It requires a little bit more, right? I can't have a consistent podcast without continually recording, without continually publishing, without continually giving it whatever it needs, right? Okay. So as you think about this thing, I want you to acknowledge a few things. The first is that you're not starting from zero. Even if this is a brand new goal, even this is a brand new whatever that you're striving for, you are not starting from zero. You are never starting from zero. If you are an adult listening to this podcast, you are not starting from zero. You have tons of things, tons of experiences, tons of skills, tons of talents that back you in whatever it is that you are striving for, even if you've never done the thing. So let's take, for example, this podcast, right? When I started the podcast, I could say that I was starting from zero. I had 0 episodes. I had 0 subscribers. I had 0 ideas. I had 0 experience podcasting. However, I had experience speaking in front of people. I've had experience recording myself. I've had experience making connections. I had friends. I had family. I had people there to support me. I had ideas. I had Google to help me figure things out. I did not start from zero, right? I had things. I had talents. I had skills. I had ideas. I had people in my corner to support me in my journey of starting the podcast. So there's a different way to look at that, right? So whatever your goal is, whatever you're striving for, you can look at the things that you've never done before. You can look at the things that are starting at zero. You can look at the things that show you that this is all completely brand new and you have nothing. Or you can look at it as in a different way, in the way of, you have done something like this before. You have people who can help you. You have Google to give you answers. You have resources. You have skills. You have talents. You have things that are available to you. You're not starting from zero. The second thing is you have a track record. It might not be a track record in exactly what it is that you are pursuing, exactly what you're striving for, but you have a track record. You have things in your life that show you, hey, yeah, I could kind of maybe be successful with this. before I started the podcast, I was on Instagram stories a lot, and I was sharing book quotes and things like that. And yeah, they were like a minute and a half or whatever, but it was something. I had a track record, and I did it every day for, I don't know, maybe a few weeks, maybe every other day or something. I don't remember what my consistency was. It wasn't as great as this, I'll tell you that. But I did have something. It did have something. And there are other times where, I've spoken, in front of groups or whatever. I've taught groups, have, even so much as shared ideas with friends. I've done those things. That is part of my track record. Having a podcast seemed a whole lot less scary when I took it. I was like, oh, it's just like I'm talking to my friend. It's like no big deal. And I'm just sharing my thoughts, sharing my love in this long monologue, and they're not responding because I won't quit talking. That's a real thing that happens, right? You have experience. You do. Even if you've never done this one thing, even if you don't have experience in that specific goal, you have experiences, right? One of the fun things when I was creating the podcast was, creating all of the, creating the graphics, creating the cover and, whatever, because as an artist, as a graphic designer, I knew I had that experience. I could do that. I had that going for me, right? And I have a lot of experience in reading personal development books, in practicing personal development tactics and techniques. I have a lot of experience in all of that because it's one of my passions. I've just loved it. It was never, I didn't do this for years so that I would have content for a podcast someday. I did this for years because I loved it, and I could see myself grow. I could see myself develop. And being able to see that progression in myself makes me so excited to share and to chat with you so that you can see progression in yourself, so that you can have those experiences, that you can have the growth. And that's so freaking exciting. So exciting. Okay. So here's the encouraging bit. You're not starting from zero. It's not as scary as you think because you've done scary things before. And really, if whatever it is that you want to do freaks the crap out of you, make a list of all the things you've done that have been scary. My oldest daughter tends to be rather fearful of new situations, of heights, of lots of things. She tends towards fear. And I remind her, look, you have done scary things before. And I will tell her specific things that she has done that have been scary. Like, you have walked into a new school and have known no one. You have, when we went to the Grand Canyon, I think, was it last year? I think it was last year. The heights really freaked her out. But she was able to get to a point that, although it freaked her out to be there, and it freaked her out getting there and getting back to, regular land, we now reference that moment of that was scary and you did it and you were fine and mom and dad were there the whole time and you lived and it was great. And so you can reference all of these scary things in your life that you have conquered, that you have overcome. And sometimes the scary things are, like a job interview. Sometimes the scary things are trying new things. Sometimes the scary things are potentially making a fool of yourself, speaking up, doing something new, putting yourself out there in a new way. Sometimes those are the scary things. Maybe it's asking for something that you want, or, asking for help, or whatever it is. You have done scary things before. Please acknowledge it. Okay? The other thing, when it goes to things that are hard, you have done hard things before. You have done difficult things in your life. You have. As an adult, you have 100% done hard things. Again, about my oldest, she's in 5th grade, and she is, for the first time, I feel like, encountering very hard assignments, things that are difficult, things that are requiring a lot from her. And she's just like, what is this? This is hard. And I have to remind her, yeah, it is. You're right. And you have done difficult things before. And as we progress through fifth grade and things just get harder, it seems, I can even refer to just earlier in the year when she had, when she overcame this other hard thing, when she did it, she gave it her best. And as a parent, that's a great joy to me to be able to point out these things that, look, this was hard and you got through it, because it allows her to see, okay, I did that. I know I did that. And so because I did that, I know I can do this. We sometimes don't, most of the time, a lot of the time, whatever, we don't take that opportunity to give ourselves that pep talk. We're just like, this is hard. And we just leave it there. Like, okay, well, yeah, it's hard. And what else have you done in your life that's hard? What else have you done in your life that was scary? What else? Because there are things. There are definitely things. And so make that list. Make that list and acknowledge yourself for all of those difficult things that you have overcome. And it's proof that you can overcome whatever difficult thing you're facing now. Because you've done these things, so why not this one? Really, there's no reason. The last thing I brought up, consistency. Consistency is such an interesting thing. Like I said, it requires more of you on a consistent basis, I would add. You have also been consistent. You really have. There are things in your life that you have been incredibly consistent with. And we don't give ourselves credit for these things sometimes. So it's just like we only see what we are inconsistent at. Like, oh, I can't ever be on time, which is so not true for me. But like, oh, I can't ever, I say I'm going to do a weekly email and then I don't. Or I can't ever, whatever it is that you feel like, I can't exercise 3 times a week. I can't get up early. I can't blah, blah. We only zero in on what we are inconsistent at. And then that's all we see. But there are things in your life that you are consistent about. There are things in your life that you do every single time it's called for without fail. Give yourself credit for that. And whether it's you always brush your teeth in the morning or in the evening, or, you always make your bed, every week you vacuum, or whatever it is, look for those places that you are incredibly consistent at. Look for them and acknowledge that you are consistent there. And say, look, I am totally capable of consistency. I've been getting up and, getting myself dressed since the 1st grade or whatever it is. That was a silly example, but you know what I mean. Give yourself credit for wherever it is that you have been consistent at, because then it will encourage you to be consistent at things that matter a little bit more. Maybe the things that you're really struggling with, that you feel like, if I could just be consistent in this one thing, if I could consistently eat well, if I could consistently exercise, blah, blah. Give yourself permission to acknowledge the little things that you're consistent at, so that you can be encouraged that consistency is something that you're capable of for the bigger things. Because that helps. It helps a lot. Like I said, you have a track record. You do. And all of those things are part of your track record. You get to choose, look, this is not some sports competition or whatever where all of your stats are public and by altering them, you're being a bad person and dishonest, whatever. You get to choose what's part of your track record, because your track record's for you. It's for your benefit. So you get to choose, okay, yeah, maybe I wasn't consistent at that one thing, but these other 3 things I've been really consistent at. So I'm actually just going to hyper-focus in on these, see that I am capable of consistency, and then work on this one thing that's really important to me. You get to work on your own track record. You get to decide what's a part of it. You get to acknowledge the little things as well as the big things that you have overcome, that you have worked through, and that you have been committed to tirelessly. You get to make that choice. I really wanted this episode to be encouraging to you, that whatever it is that you're facing, whatever it is that you're striving for, whatever goal you have on the horizon, you already have so much that's ready to support you. You have a track record. You have experiences. You have talents. You have skills. You have people who love you and are there for you and that cheer you on. You have all of this to your benefit. If you choose to see it, that's your choice. And I hope this episode encourages you to see all of that is there for you. Because you've got this. Whatever it is that you're going after, I want you to go after it. I want you to do it. I want you to blow it out of the water. I believe in you. That's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. I appreciate you. I send you all my love. Bye for now.